Welcome students. I myself Dr. Nisith Mondal, Assistant Professor, Department of Economics, Durgapur Government College. Today in this lecture series I will discuss the disinvestment policy. Disinvestment policy is a major policy on the part of the government. The government strategically tries to reduce its financial burden through the policy of disinvestment. Also, the government, to fulfill its objectives of liberalization, privatization and globalization, is also resorting to the policy of disinvestment. Let us now see or discuss what is disinvestment. In this slide, I will be discussing what is disinvestment. Disinvestment is a policy in which government sells off or liquidates its assets, mainly the public sector units or the public sector enterprises, by selling its stakes to the public or private players. Thus, a part of the ownership is transferred to the private players as well as to the general public. Why there is the need of disinvestment? Why government resorts to disinvestment? Firstly, disinvestment helps to reduce the financial burden on the government finance. In order to maintain the public sector enterprises, or speaking specifically, in order to maintain or to carry on with the public sector units that are making losses or that has been referred to the Board of Industrial and Financial Reconstruction, those public sector units or public sector enterprises, if disinvestment invested, it will help in reducing the financial burden on the government finance. It also opens up market for private firms. Now private firms can own a stake in the public sector units, in the managing body of the public sector unit, and this policy of disinvestment allows the private firms to produce goods and sell in the market. It supports the liquidity measures in the market, also helps government to raise money. If there is a deficit in the government budget, government may resort to disinvestment policy to raise money to finance long-term government goals. Number 5, channelize resources to more productive avenues by reducing expenditure on loss-making firms. Those firms which are sick and has already been referred to the Board for Industrial and Financial Reconstruction, those firms, the financial burden of those firms can be reduced by the policy of disinvestment. Disinvestment also improves the return of investment of underperforming firms. Now, a question may strike: disinvestment is synonymous to privatization, but the case is not so. Privatization is a form of disinvestment where complete control and ownership rights are transferred to the private sector. But in case of disinvestment, there is partial selling of stakes without necessarily giving up the complete control. Thus, there is a slight difference between disinvestment and privatization. Now we will know the milestones in disinvestment policy in Indian economy. As we already know, the policy of liberalization, privatization and globalization, or the new economic reforms, has been undertaken in the year 1991. Disinvestment has also been started or initiated during the 1991 only. Economic reforms and the introduction of disinvestment policy was done in the year 1991. Next important milestone in the disinvestment policy taken in Indian economy is the establishment of the Disinvestment Commission 1996. Strategic disinvestment and privatization is again undertaken in the year 1999 to 2004. Department of Investment and Public Asset Management (DIPAM) was established in 2016 to facilitate the disinvestment process. In 2021-22 budget, the privatization of 2 public sector banks and 1 general insurance company was undertaken as a part of the disinvestment process in the Indian economy. Now we will have a brief look at the sectors or the public sector enterprises that has been disinvested. The Bharat Petroleum Corporation Limited, popularly known as the BPCL, the Air India, which was recently in the news, has also been disinvested. The Hindustan Zinc Limited. Next we have the Steel Authority of India, in which some of the stakes has been sold to the private players. There is Container Corporation of India, which is a logistic leader, has also been disinvested. The Life Insurance Corporation of India, which was recently in news, was also been disinvested. Now we will just have a brief idea of the pros or the advantages of disinvestment. Firstly, disinvestment is a known process of revenue generation. It is also a process of efficiency improvement. It creates a market discipline and leads to wider ownership. It reduces the fiscal burden, thereby by reducing the government burden at looking at the sick enterprises. The advantages or the cons of disinvestment. Firstly, disinvestment may lead to unemployment problem, creating a social unrest. It may also lead to strategic concern, as if most of the firms in an economy are disinvested or the strategic firms are disinvested, then the backbone of the nation can become weak and we may become handicapped in front of the private players. Undervaluation risk. There is undervaluation risk. That means if a public sector unit should have been valued at a high rate, due to disinvestment it is sold at a very low rate. So there is a risk of undervaluation. It may also create inequality. And the fifth disadvantage of disinvestment is that disinvestment has a short-term focus, no long-term goal. Now we will come to the conclusion of this lecture. Though disinvestment has many pros and cons, still disinvestment remains a key policy tool for the Indian government to achieve fiscal consolidation and promote economic growth. The policy has evolved over the years, as we have seen in the milestones, reflecting the changing economic landscape and priorities of the government. The policy of disinvestment was initiated to revive the Indian economy, and this policy has undergone many challenges during its course. Thus we come to the end of the lecture. Thank you all.